Jiu-Jitsu is a dynamic sport full of fast, decisive actions that require you to deliver your techniques quickly. So many Jiu-Jitsu athletes are missing out on a fundamental physical quality required to do this properly. Power is your ability to express force over time, and it's essential to delivering your techniques with intention. You want to have good pop in your takedowns and be able to deliver your sweeps with intention, and you want to be able to do this over and over again during your rounds. And if you want to build up your ability to do this, it's essential that you train some power building movements in your training. So in this video, I'm going to run through my 5 favorite power building movements for Jiu-Jitsu athletes. But just before we get into that, a huge amount of people who watch these videos are not subscribed. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to massively upgrade your strength and conditioning on the mats. Let's get into the power training with the first one, the broad jump. The broad jump is a really nice movement to add into your training as a Jiu-Jitsu athlete for a number of reasons. It's a great way of building horizontal power, which is a key trait for explosive takedowns and movements in Jiu-Jitsu, as well as the broad jump requiring no equipment to perform. It's also a pretty simple movement to learn how to do and get good at, so let's take a dive into how to do it properly. You want to start with a consistent start point on the ground, then use your arms to swing overhead to start to generate momentum. You're then going to jump out in front of you, aiming to stick the landing so you can measure the distance of your effort each time. Measure from your heel back to your starting jump, and that's going to give you a way of measuring your improvement week on week. A little hidden benefit of this movement and other power training is that if you want to get a good rep, you need to really psychologically commit to the jump itself, which is very similar to the feeling of how you need to psychologically commit to a takedown in Jiu-Jitsu if you want to hit it properly. So make sure to add this into your training just after your plyometric warm-up in the gym, and you'll start to see the difference on the mats. So with that, let's move on to another great movement to have in your training arsenal, the vertical jump. The vertical jump is another fantastic power builder, but this time we're focusing on vertical power instead of horizontal power, and explosive hip extension, which is going to be really important whenever you want to perform a powerful movement like a takedown. Just like the broad jump, it's really simple to set up. All you need is you, a wall, and a bit of chalk or some tape. You want to start by standing up tall, then dip down into a quarter squat, big explosive jump overhead, and try and mark the top of your jump by touching the wall with your chalk or with your tape. Just like the broad jump, the beauty of this is in how simple it is to track. You can measure your progress on your marks week after week, and you can see how you're improving. If you add this into your training on an alternate day alongside your broad jumps, well, now you've got horizontal power and vertical power covered. Next one is a really valuable but massively underrated tool for building power, and that's the power clean. This one is a lot more technical than the previous two, so if you're new to this movement, take your time with it, or just look up more in-depth resources on how to do the power clean properly before you start loading it up. But once you've got it down, it's an excellent way of building a powerful triple extension, which is exactly what you're gonna need whenever you try to hit explosive double legs or hit a hard scissor sweep. To perform the movement, you're gonna start with the bar at your hips. You're then gonna dip down into a quarter squat similar to your vertical jump, and you're gonna explosively pull the bar upwards before dropping yourself under the bar and catching it in a front rack position. There's a lot going on here at once, but that's where a lot of the value of the movement comes from. You're teaching your body to produce a lot of force at once, which is really nice and exactly what you're gonna need for when you're trying to perform a powerful takedown in training. But this is a movement that if you get comfortable with it and you start integrating it into your training, you will really feel the difference on the mats. Now we're going to talk about a movement that's another jump, but it doesn't get nearly as much attention as the broad jump or the vertical jump. And that's going to be the lateral jump. Jiu-Jitsu is not just a sport that goes forward and backwards. There's a huge amount of lateral movement as well. Whether that's stepping around for an angle, scrambling for a takedown, or trying to reaffirm your position, there's a huge amount of lateral movement in the sport, and getting stronger at these type of movements can have massive benefit. To perform this movement properly, you're going to want to load into one leg and then explosively jump out to the opposite side. Once you land out, aim to try and stick your landing on your other leg, so there's going to be a nice bit of dynamic balance involved in this as well. This one's really nice for building up that single leg stability because of how you have to catch yourself. You're also going to highlight weaknesses from one leg to the other, as you're effectively going to have to repeat this on your right hand side versus your left hand side, and you'll be able to build a lot of power on both. But this is one that if you get this into your training, you're really going to notice over time that your ability to change direction massively improves. Last but not least, we're now going to take a look at the loaded jump variations. This is where we start to blend the difference between a pure power movement and a little bit of strength work as well. Because we're adding an external load, which could be dumbbells in the hands, a trap bar, or a bar on your back, you're now having to produce a little bit more force under load than you would with the other jumps. This is actually much closer to what's going to happen in the sport, where you're not going to be completely unloaded, but you're going to be moving both you and your opponent's body through space. To do this properly, you're going to want to keep the load pretty light. I wouldn't go much over 10, 20, 25% body weight. So make sure that you can pick a weight that lets you move explosively with. If it slows you down too much, it's probably a little bit too heavy and you need to drop it back. What this movement is also going to help you with is your fatigue resistance and being able to produce efforts under fatigue. Each time you jump and then repeat the effort, you're going to be slightly more fatigued than you were on the previous jump, but you're still going to have to produce that big effort. This is a really good physical quality to build for training, because you're not always going to be fresh to just produce the rep, and you're going to be a little bit fatigued when you go to do this effort on the mats. Oftentimes you'll be scrambling with your training partner, and then the perfect angle will present itself, and then you'll have to shoot the takedown. Being able to produce this short, snappy movement while fatigued is a really essential part of delivering your technique well, and that's what these continuous loaded jumps will help you build. So if you add this in alongside or as a progression to the other jumps in this video, you're going to have a really well-rounded set of power movements to add into your program. So there you have it, some really nice power movements to add into your training alongside your plyometric work and your strength work. Most people don't train these type of movements in the gym, and they just focus on the strength work or the bodybuilding style hypertrophy workouts. But if you're adding these into your training alongside, say, plyometrics, you're beginning to build out a really well-rounded jiu-jitsu strength and conditioning program that's going to help you build a lot of qualities that other people are just lacking. And if you need a program that has all of these different elements linked together in the right amounts, at the right intensities, you can find that linked down in the description below. It has everything you need, from the strength work, the plyometrics, the power movements that we covered in this video. And if you just follow that, you can be confident that the next time you get in the gym, you're doing something productive and you're not wasting your time. Hope you enjoyed that one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one.